What is good, guys? Here, this is Charles from Team COG coming here with a discussion video to kind of walk you guys through the rock in the room. I know the Nibiru is a pretty big adversary to this Swordsoul deck, so I wanted to go ahead and discuss like the ways that this deck can beat it or play through it. There's no way to prevent Nib. Sadly, we don't have like any sort of Worm Omni-Negate or anything like Baron's out of the picture, which, you know, RIP Baron. But anyway, I want to do this video showcase you guys like how you beat Nib or how you can potentially play through Nib. Now, do take note, guys, like you can't beat every hand trap. And the chances of you playing through or having like, you know, like being able to play through stuff is like higher than like them opening Nib. I think if they play 3 of Nib, it's a 33% chance for them to open 1 Nib. And you should have a more consistent chance to open the multiple 2 card iterations to beat it. But then that's when you get into like the whole logistics of them opening multiple hand traps, because this deck, thanks to Moolah and some of the new stuff, can play through like effect veilers, imperms, and ashes pretty easy now. Now, if you do have a bad hand, you know what I'm saying. You have a bad hand, you normal summon Moyi, imperm, Moyi, pass. Like it still is that as like as it is with any type of deck. Have decent hands and you have the bad hands, and the bad hands normally can't beat a fart off of Ash Blossom. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell, and if you guys want to help to support the channel directly, hit that join button, become knighted. Everything that goes into the channel gets put back into it, whether it be into getting a new product or, you know, going to events and stuff like that. It's highly, highly appreciated. But this is a discussion video. This ain't going to be like any sort of long combo video. So like if you guys are down to like put on some sort of like goofy nerd here rambling about Swordsoul, this is the video for you. If you guys are wanting for like a little bit more like showcase and a little bit more stuff like that, this probably ain't it, but we'll showcase you guys. We'll talk about the Nibiru and like the different lines that you can use to beat Nibiru. So to beat Nibiru, we come down to like 2 type of decisions or 2 type of factors: the player's knowledge of your deck, and then your deck essentially, what Swordsoul can do, and the player knowledge. If you're playing against a Nincompoop who's never played against Swordsoul, you're probably going to be able to play around or through Nib pretty equally, because like they're going to arguably hit you at inopportune times with Nibiru, where you're able to just like push through it, because like I said, this deck cannot beat Nibiru, but it can play through it or push or force the Nibiru, which they do that through lines such as Protos, having access to Protos, which is right here. Getting Protos out and forcing Protos is pretty big, and also Chao Feng. We all know there's a 2-card combo with Chao Feng that allows you to pretty much your 5th summon is summoning back to Tuner to make Chao Feng, and it puts the opponent on as either you nib me now or you can't nib me at all. And this card's actually pretty strong, especially into like the Fiendsmith format, which I hope to Konami will eventually like get rid of Fiendsmith. But this is just a line because you haven't conducted your normal summon. Remember, this deck is not a 1-card combo deck. The deck literally has one 1-card combo, and I think it's literally Emergence. Just Emergence by itself gets you to Chi-Xiao plus like Berserker, or Chi-Xiao plus like Blackout, or Chi-Xiao plus something else. So the deck doesn't have like some crazy 1-card combos. It's a 2- and 3-card combo deck. So like Chao Feng, you open Ashina plus Vishuddha or Adhara plus like any normal summon. You're able to like play through Nib, which is kind of crazy. Same with Protos. It's really hard to get access to Protos without hard opening it, or hard opening certain cards to be able to drop the Protos, but you got to make sure you have a light on the field to be able to, you know, threaten the calling of light, and then the opponent cannot hit you with that. And there's like particular lines you can do that for. There's going second lines as well to force a Nib when you're going second, especially if you just make Moolah here with a Tenyi Monk up here. You pretty much just make this, do your search, and attempt to go battle phase. And what a lot of people don't know is this card literally can attack twice. So like if the opponent like has an open board, you're able to out certain boards, like you open Vishuddha and stuff like that, and you're able to spin back. This is 7,000 damage, and that really puts him close to being able to be burned by Long Wan. So this right here puts him at 7,000, and then you're able to combo sequence, because if you've not been hand trapped or etc., you've got access to Tenyi Affinity. You're going to get access to a lot other of your worms and stuff like that to be able to bait and essentially push a Protos, and then they will hit you with a Nibiru because they're scared of Protos, and then you just fire off Long One and burn them for 12. This actually comes up in a point of view duel that will be coming out this week, or that'll be coming out this week as this video is being recorded. So you'll get to see that there. But this is also a really cool instance where like you can threaten, you can attempt to go battle phase, because this is 7,000 damage. And if they're scared of, you know, getting attacked for 7,000 and then getting burned with Long One, they'll just nib here, and then you've essentially done the same thing. Another giant point in which they force out Nibiru is when you pay 4,000 to summon this guy, because you've paid 4,000 life points. You know what I'm saying? So you paid 4 to summon out this Azhara, and they see that as a pretty big threat, especially if they're opening multiple hand traps, such as like Imperm Nib. They won't be able to Imperm the Protos, so then it forces them to Nib, which turns off their Imperm and stuff like that, because like you have to summon here, you attempt to go here, call light, then they chain Nibiru. They can't use Imperm because nothing can be targeted because of Sashara, which is really cool. So it does like another moment in combo sequencing that can potentially force out Nibiru. One of my favorite ones is when you open essentially on the lines of your Ashuna plus your Saruya, and then you have any normal summon, which for the sake we'll just go ahead and make it Taya, because Taya is like pretty easy to have here. But this is another way going first that you're able to force out a Nib. Essentially, you're kind of using your first 2 cards to be able to bait hand traps, and you always hold your normal summon, which is either Tai or Moyi, or Ecclesia, to be able to normal summon if you're going first. Ecclesia can also be special summon when you're going second. But that's essentially what it is. I'll kind of walk you through this one right here. This one's kind of interesting because you special summon out Ashina, you link it off into Monk of the Tenyi, you go ahead and you special summon out Saruya, banish this to go ahead and grab yourself the Shathana, Synchro here for Mula, Chainlink 1, and then you can go Chainlink 2, the Saruya. Now, this is like where player preference, your choice and stuff. You can summon out Sashara here if you want to, but the bad thing is you pay 4,000, you're not going to get the full benefit of Sashara, but also since you're going to be trying to force a Protos, if Protos resolves and you destroy all lights, you just paid 4,000 to destroy your own Sashara, which that feels kind of bad. If you think about it, I mean, like, yeah, Protos is resolving, it can't be targeted, it can't be stopped, but you just paid 4,000 life points to, so whatever. So probably what you want to do is summon out, pay 1,000, just summon out the Monk. You're going to go ahead and grab yourself your Tenyifinity, and then you'll go ahead and activate your Tenyifinity, grabbing your Circle. Now, again, you're way past your 5th summon, so the opponent could just have already nibbed you, and in that case, you've succeeded. But if they haven't nibbed you and they're holding for something, this is what's going to kind of force them to force the nib, essentially. You go Heavenly Circle, tribute off your Monk. This is also really good because since you didn't summon out Shaman or the Sashara, you're able to have like the right attributes in your hand or in your graveyard to be able to get the Protos out successfully. So we're going right here. So this is essentially where we're at right now. You go and go Protos, banish these 3 here. They're all 3 different attributes. Summon out Protos, and then you can attempt to call light. This will destroy the Mula, which isn't too big of a deal. Now this right here can also force, again, Imperm or Nibiru.
It's not just a boulder, it's a rock.
But again, like if they open Imperm Nibiru, like that's like one of the best 2-card combos you can have going second for any deck. But anyway, you go here, call light. This will destroy Mula, because Mula can only be not to be destroyed by opponent's card effects. And then now since you've locked out from Nib, this is where you got to be extremely smart because you can't go Chi-Shao because you can't summon Chi-Shao. So you got to normal summon out your Taya, use Taya's effect to go ahead and banish the Mula, and then go ahead and summon out your token, and then you go ahead and Synchro off here. So we can't go into our Chi-Shao, which is pretty big. So you got to go into your Berserker of the Tenyi, and then Taya will go ahead and dump. And right here, you can really dump anything you really want. You can jump a Tenyi to add back Recursion, especially since you know you have cards in your hand that could be used for. You can dump Vishuddha to have the ability to do anything. But for the sake of this, we'll dump Adhara, and then we will go ahead and banish to add back Ashina, I guess. Or you could add back Shathana as well, so that way you do technically have like another form of disruption. In the sense if they solve the Tenyi, you can banish Shathana and like pop a card. But, I mean, like right here, again, being able to force out the Tenyi, you're able to, they can't summon light monsters, and then you have like Draco Berserker here to do anything. Now, of course, like again, if this is Moyi, you got to count on like another card in your hand. But again, this entire discussion video is to showing you that they are particular sequencing and lines you can do to potentially force a Nibiru. But again, that's like the difficult thing, is it's always dependent on what the other opponent has in hand. Do they have Nibiru plus Ash? It depends on your hand. There's a lot of factors that play into baiting hand traps, and I know like there's like a lot of science behind like sequencing, but you just can't beat everything, especially in a game that's kind of like really RNG based in a way. You just can't count that your hand will like always beat Nibiru. So what I'll do real quick here, since we just sitting here chatting, chilling, I'll just shuffle up and I'll do like a quick test hand, which we already did a test hand video. If you guys have not checked it out, I recommend going and checking it out. But we'll shuffle it up here, and we'll do like a quick test hand and see if this hand can beat Nibiru, and kind of look at it and discuss like what else it could do, right? Can it beat Nibiru? Can it beat Nibiru plus another hand trap like Ash or something like that? Also got to take note that as I'm shuffling here, some of my Fuaros, you got to remember that those cards exist, and like those cards can potentially put you in awkward situations, as where like you gotta go for it. But I have found if I get Fuaros, Chi-Shao Blackout is probably the safest thing to do. Is arguably just the safest thing to do. All right, we'll do a quick. We've shuffled pretty good here. And we'll do a quick cut. And our first 5 cards is going to be Long One, Effect Veiler, Molchami, crazy, Moyi, and another Long One. So Long One, this is interesting. So let's see. I don't think this hand beats Nib. I think this hand does beat Nib in the sense that you can just go Chi-Shao Blackout, which is kind of crazy. But you know, you normal here, reveal, you get a token, and then we synchro here for Chi-Shao, wherever it is. Go Chi-Shao 1, or Chi-Shao 1, this 2, we draw a card, we draw Saruya, and then we get to add a Swordsoul card. I think maybe we add... So that's what's crazy, is there's not really like any crazy Swordsoul extenders outside of Long One. So like we can add Emergence, and Emergence can get us into like anything. So I think Emergence is the correct call here. And the reason I want to say that is because... So we're trying to beat Nib, right? So we just hold Emergence. So we go ahead and... So looking at this hand, there's not really much more we can do. I mean, technically there is, but like we play more into it. But we could play through it if we get nibbed. So what I'm saying is, so we go Long One, pitch Long One, summon itself in a token. Now the opponent can nib us here if he wants to. Arguably they should, because if they don't, we're going to burn them for 12, and if they have Nibiru, they're going to get burned for 24. So they could essentially hit us here, and they don't get burned for nothing. But if they let us get into the Sinister, we're going to burn them for 12 Long One, and then and get rid of the Nibiru that way. But we sometimes, in some scenarios, you want the nib token to land, so like you can like utilize your Tenyis and stuff like that. So like I said, here's our hand, right? So we'll just go ahead and, I guess we go ahead and try to force it in a sense. And you'd go right here. So I mean, like arguably, if you look at our graveyard setup and everything, we don't have 3 attributes for Proto, so this hand really only could push out this right here, which again is nothing to scoff at. You have a Perm, quick effect banish of a special summon and a spell and trap. You have effect Veiler. Like I said, I'm using Fawaros. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier in this video, but I'm using Fawaros instead of Nibiru because I hate using Nib and then having Tenyis in my hand, and then I can't use those Tenyis because I control an effect monster, whereas Fawaros was just something good. But it's something that might change. So just imagine like Fawaros is also Nib in a way. It could be any other hand trap. So like this is not a board to like laugh at, essentially. 3, 4, 5 forms of disruption. So if we attempt to go in phase, right, the opponent has to drop Nibiru. We want to go ahead and let it happen, because I think if we banish, we use Chi-Shao or a Sinister Long One here to banish Nibiru, it doesn't fully resolve, so we don't get a token, but we want the token. So we go and get hit. We get hit with a token, and now we still play. We go ahead and go Emergence to go ahead and grab us. Oh, now we goofed there. We're supposed to use Emergence prior to... Rewind it. All right. So once you get here, you can go ahead, and you probably should do it before, but you go ahead and use Emergence to go ahead and grab yourself Ashina, because we can grab any like Link monster, right? And then we go here and make this Sinister, and then we can potentially pass turn. If they nib us in before we leave the main phase like we just did, that's okay. We go ahead and get ourselves our token, and now we play normally here. We go banish Ashina from hand to go ahead and summon out Shethana, special out the Saruya, and then we can just combo here, make a Mula. Mula can't be targeted, which is pretty crazy. And then we can pay 4,000 and summon out our... So it'd be Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, 2 to summon out here. And then we go ahead and grab ourselves our Tenyi Affinity, and then we can activate Tenyi Affinity. And actually, through this, we can probably we can still Protos lock into Dark too, if we really want to. Now that I'm seeing it, because we can go and add ourselves, because we've already exhausted our normal summon, right? In this particular sequencing end of our hand, so we can go ahead and grab this, and that'll grab us anything. But we've already exhausted it, right? So like we probably want to go ahead and grab... Oh, excuse me. We can grab Circle. I was talking about... Yeah, Cycle. We can go Cycle, Dump, and Add, but what are we... Like, there's no point in adding anything because we've already conducted our normal summon. We can't special summon. So this is just getting us, like, really nothing for that sense. So if we go to Heavenly Circle, we go here, and then we can... Since there's a nib on the field, we can go Sashara Effect, target the nib, give us a token. Then we can go Circle, tribute the token, because I want to keep this guy on board, essentially, to go ahead and grab ourselves our... Where's it at? Protos. And then we can essentially go Protos, banishing a Water, a Light, and a Fire, and summon out Protos. Protos Call Dark. So they still got, like, Protos lock. But there's also other lines in the sense that we could go here, right? Instead of going into the big giant guy, we can go into Shaman. And we'll put this back real quick. We go into Shaman, we activate Tenyi Affinity. Tenyi Affinity will add us Vessel. And then you can go Vessel to dump and add. So you can send any worm. So we started out with Moyi, so we will send Taya, and we get to add any of our Tenyis to our hand, which we can add Adhara, which again, it doesn't like truly matter. And then we can go Shaman effect, pitching the Adhara to Reborn out. Taya, go Taya effect to banish. Again, like it doesn't matter. These 3 cards would be back in our graveyard. We'll just banish long one, give ourselves another token, and then we can synchro summon either back into our second YuGiOh to go ahead and put it up, or we can go into our, where's that? Our Berserker if we want to. It's entirely up to you, like what you want to do. You go here into a Berserker, and like, yeah, I mean, like it's just different. Taya will be able to dump things. So like, yeah, it's entirely up to you. I think the previous route of making the Protoss would have been better, because at least you Protoss lock and you have like a giant monster non-targeting and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll do one more quick test hand just to see and walk us through like playing through Nibiru and stuff like that and see what we can get. So, all right, I'll just shuffle it up and we'll get on into it here. All right, guys, here we go. Fast cut. I always like to cut so you guys don't think we're rigging hands here at Team COG. We'll quickly just go ahead and draw our first hand. And again, remember, we're trying to just play through Nib and just trying to see the proper sequencing to do it. 3, 4, 5. So to beat Nib here, let's see here. So we got to also think that, so to beat Nib, I mean, it's pretty like straightforward, I think, like very similar to the last hand. But we do get the ability to try and beat multiple hand traps, I think, here. I think this hand, seeing these 3 cards in conjunction, allows us to beat a lot of hand traps, depending where the opponent throws them again, right? Like, so we'll go ahead and special out Ashna, link off Ashna into the Monk. We'll go and activate Vessel to go ahead and send, so we can send any worm. So like, I'm trying to think like maybe there's a world where we go ahead and send Protoss, because we could add back Protoss later on if we want to. But I think for the sake of this, we'll just go ahead and send Adhara and add Saruya. So that way we're beating Imperm. So trying to beat Nib and Imperm now. The only bad thing, not really bad actually, because like we could still, I think, force. Yeah, we're okay. Banish this to go ahead and summon out Shithana. Now, if they have Ash or something like that, again, like that can just really put us in a pickle, but we still have like the normal summon. Like then you're open up the probability they have Ash, Imperm, Nib, essentially. We go here. I'll banish this to go ahead and add back Ashna, so that way we have the ability to reveal off Moyi, special summon out the Saruya, and then we can synchro here into Mula. Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. So this is very much like earlier in the video where I showed you that you could potentially force out the Nibiru simply by getting into this point where you can search it out and force it. So we're going to go ahead and go here and grab Tenyi Affinity. We're going to activate Tenyi Affinity. Since we opened Cycle, we got to go ahead and grab ourselves Circle, which is okay. So we can go here and go Circle, Tribute the Monk, to go ahead and grab ourselves any worm monsters. So like we could summon any worm monster from the deck, but we're just going to go ahead and summon or search our Protoss. We have the 3 different attributes in the graveyard. So now we can just Protoss here, banishing these 3. And then we summon out. And essentially, either we call Light and they hit us with something, or we get Nib. So if we go Protoss effect, or if we summon here, if we say Protoss effect, they chain Nib, or they hit us preemptively, we get a fat Nib token. And that's okay. So Nib did Protoss not resolve. We go ahead and normal summon Moyi, reveal Ashna. And I would like to say something else that, this hand's actually was pretty wild. We go ahead and summon out our second token, level 4 token. Synchro here off into YuGiOh, a Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. We'll quickly just shuffle because we went in the deck quite a few times to search out stuff here. I wish Tenyi Affinity allowed you to tribute any monster. So we draw for turn off of that. Sweet. So three hand traps, and we get to search out our Long John Silver, So take note, there is a Nib on the field floating, so we're going to be able to solve that pretty easily here. Here, pitching Ashina. The summon itself. And then summon a token. We then can synchro off here. If we want to get rid of the Nib, which I do think we should, because like even if we make Sinister, we're still like Nib can just attack over either one of these, which we don't want. So we'll just go ahead and make Tenyi. And if we want to, we can go effect of long one, banish this to go ahead and banish or stop the Nib. Get rid of the Nib, remove it from the field. But there's also an argument to where, since like if you count how many we have banished here, we have 4. That'd put Nib at 2600 attack, because I believe Tenyi says they lose attack. Lose 100 attack, so technically Nib is not big enough to get over it, so we could just stop right here and then set Imperm. This is our hand through Nibiru. Pretty much forcing the Nibiru here is pretty good. And this, again, this is a lot of disruption. You have Imperm, ability to banish 1 from field and grave, effect Veiler, Ash, Impermanence. That's pretty strong. And we do have the follow-up in the graveyard in the sense of we have Ashina be able to summon from that, along with Heavenly Circle. As long as they do not solve the token, which the token was the token wasn't too big, actually. It just 23,000 defense, actually. I shouldn't say not that big. But its attack is literally 6,500, 3,000 defense, which is a pretty big token since everything's losing it. So again, we'll wrap it up here for the video. I think this is a good showcase, 2 hands in a row showcase, you guys. If you guys are fearful of Nibiru, how you can sequence stuff. It's just when you get into like the 2 to 3 hand trap range that where like you can just kind of like, you can't beat them all, so you got to figure out which hand trap you lose hardest to and try to push through it. And that sequence there, like, if we ash block, or they ashed us somewhere in the sense of, like, the Ashina, we already had the, we got it hard in graveyard to be able to add it back. If they ended up ashing the cycle, that was a little bit that made things a little bit difficult. But again, like, yeah, you got to play, like, you got to send it, man. You got to send it. Otherwise, you're not going to play the game. But yeah, anyway, guys, if you guys enjoy this type of content, please let me know down below. Let me know what other type of disruptions or hand traps or something like that you guys would maybe want to like have a discussion about and talk through. I really enjoy these type of videos, and I think I might try to put them up with the decks moving forward. I do believe this is going to be the deck I'll probably be piloting in the point of view duels for quite a while and taking to a few events. The only other deck I'm kind of excited for is Dragon Rulers. I'm excited to test Dragon Rulers and play it, even though I think it's very similar. It'll probably suffer from the similar thing that Swordsoul suffers from. But anyway, stay safe, stay healthy. This is Charles from Team COG, signing out.